Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video. This is Back to Basics with Microsoft Flight Simulator Part 32. We're continuing exploring the various different approaches with the G1000. In this video I'm going to show you the ILS approach and give you a bonus vertical navigation thrown in with that, because these go side by side. As you can see, I'm using an ILS approach into Heathrow Airport, but I'm also using with it vertical navigation, and the autopilot will bring me down accurately along this ILS approach using vertical navigation, and then we can use the approach mode to bring us down on the runway at the end of this little leg here. I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, so let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with this video. So in this flight, we're going to be using the Cessna Grand Caravan, the workhorse of the GA aircraft. Powerful little aircraft, the Grand Caravan. I've got my Huddison livery. I believe I'm at Southend. Well, I know I'm at Southend Airport, so EGMC, Echo Golf, Mike Charlie. So if you're going to follow this tutorial, if you've not used ILS approaches, maybe follow this route first. But let's jump into our aircraft. Now, just going to press my B button to make sure that my altimeter is correct. It is now. What we're going to do first, we're going to set a direct to, pretty straightforward, to London Heathrow. So hit the direct to button, or left click it. And if you've got a keyboard connected, click this little icon here. So EGLL Heathrow Airport should come up. Click the little keyboard entry icon again, and then press enter down here. Pretty straightforward, and enter again to activate it. There we go. So Southend, EGMC to EGLL, straightforward. We're gonna put in approach. Now before I do this, keep an eye on these nav frequencies. I believe this one will change once you enter an ILS approach. So keep an eye on this. It's 110.50 at the moment, nav 1. We're going to go to procedures, left click, and select approach, enter. Now we're going to choose, which is pretty much the active runway for Heathrow, ILS 27 left. So ILS 27 left, use your bigger knob, so the inner knob of the FMS, scroll up. So you get to ILS 27 left. I'm going to press enter there. Now transitions, this is the important part. You've got vectors at the top. You've got big, I believe that's Biggin, isn't it? In things like Ockley and Lambeth, I always get that one wrong. But these denote the sort of various different areas and VORs and nav points around them. As I go through this, you can see big. This is the start of the approach phrase. That's going pretty much along my flight path. If I chose BNN, it's all the way up here. So I'm going to have to fly all the way up there to get on that approach. I'm going to lengthen my journey doing that. CHT, similar. It starts up there. I don't want that one. And if I scroll through the rest of them, you can see that they're away from my current flight plan. So if you're going to do this, LAM is towards it. I could choose that one as well. And Oakley, I believe. That's all the way down here. I don't want that one. So I can either choose LAM. Choose one of the transitions that's already along your flight path. So LAM is, if I scroll up to big, I'm going to choose big here. Because that's pretty much as I go towards, as you saw my route before, this is on the way. Well, it's along the way, along my route I just set up. So I'm going to choose big. I'm going to press enter there. Minimums we don't want. So we're just going to use our big FMS knob here. Scroll up till you get to activate. And activate. And don't worry about this writing. Press enter again. And as you can see, that's now, if I close that flight plan and range out, you can see that that ILS is along our route. So we're going to fly towards that and then lock onto this ILS and fly this using autopilot. Now, bring up that flight plan again. As you can see, our first transition point along the ILS is 7,000 feet. So I'm going to set an autopilot altitude for 8,000 feet. I'm just going to use my multi-panel to do this. It's a lot easier than using the knobs. But if you want to do this manually, just scroll up on this knob. Either or, I just find it easier doing it with my multi-panel. So I get to 8,000 with no time at all. 8,000. Going to use flight level change mode for this. So I'm just going to click the FLC button up here. FLC, left click it. And then I'm going to set this speed. I'm going to scroll up on this knob here. Set that to 127 knots. So what will happen is, if I press my autopilot, it will hold 127 knots. And then the vertical rate of climb will depend on what speed you set here. It will climb according to the speed you set here. And your engine power, etc. So 127 knots. Have covered flight level change in my Back to Basics series. That's linked down in the description. But let's not dilly-dally here, chaps. Let's throttle up. And we can just get up in the air. I'm going to let the Cessna Grand Caravan. It's a powerful aircraft. I believe Flaps 1 is on by default. It lifts up by itself, look. Going to bring my flaps up. The nose will drop, so I'm just going to use a bit of trim just to keep it climbing. That's fine. Autopilot on and nav mode selected. And don't forget, so it's going to follow our GPS. It's going to follow our route, but it's going to hold 127 knots, and the vertical, your rate of climb will depend on what your flight level change mode speed is. I've covered that in previous videos. I don't want to go into too much depth, but as you can see, we're climbing at quite a nice rate. What I'll do, I'll bring you back when we reach our 8,000 feet altitude. And there you go, we're just about to reach our 8,000 feet autopilot assigned altitude. Something I didn't mention, once I chose that ILS 27 and chose a transition to head in towards the ILS, it automatically assigned me the correct nav frequency for runway 27 at Heathrow Airport. So your nav 1, that's your active frequency, it automatically assigned it in both nav 1 and nav 2. In fact, 109.50 is the correct ILS frequency for ILS 27 left at Heathrow. So that will be automatic, so you don't even have to set that. So when I change to my CDI to localizer 1 later, I will be locked on, once I'm on the final approach, to 27 left. Isn't that brilliant? Okay, we're at 8,000 feet there. Here's where the magic begins. We can use vertical navigation. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to right click on the outer knob, the small knob on the FMS. Right click on that with my mouse. This will flash. I can use my inner knob here, the big knob. Mouse up on it so you get to the bottom of this ILS approach. So you want to get your final fix altitude, which is 2,500 feet, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my autopilot altitude, use my multi-panel again, to change my altitude to 2,500. It's not going to descend yet. I've not commanded the aircraft to descend. I'm just going to set that 2,500 feet. You can press your right click on the outer knob again to stop that flashing. It will stay there now, so that's quite handy. So it will give us all the different legs of this ILS approach and altitude fixes. We can now use vertical navigation. Press your vertical navigation button. It's up here, VNAV. VPath will highlight in white. You'll get a top of descent countdown to this first fix on our ILS. So we've got just over 3 minutes to reach our first fix. Once we reach there, it will start descending under VPath vertical navigation autopilot. You don't have to press anything else, and it will continue descending, as you'll see, all the way down to 2,500 feet. Just scroll out a little bit, which will be, in fact, let's just move that flight plan, left click, right click at the same time. We can zoom in on this final approach here. Oops, zoom in, not zoom out. Once we reach here, we can then click our CDI to localizer 1 and actually use the autopilot approach mode button to bring us down on the runway. Isn't that fantastic? So there you go, we'll continue towards our top of descent and I'll bring you back in a moment. Okay, as you can see, we're reaching our top of descent. We're in about just under 10 seconds. There you go. So this arrow here, remember, it's giving us the ideal descent rate we need to descend to follow that profile. So the ideal vertical speed or descent rate to follow this vertical navigation course, or our ILS course, basically, to get down to 7,000 feet and then get down to this altitude all the way down to 2,500. You'll see VPAF has gone green, so it's locked onto our vertical navigation, and this will stay like this till we reach our final fixed point, our bottom of descent. In fact, you can see the bottom of descent right here on our final fix. So it's going to descend basically all the way down, stay under VPAF all the way down to we reach our final fix, where we can use our approach mode button. So I'll keep you here for this part. Oh, and watch my speed. Let's slow down. Didn't keep an eye on that part. There we go. So we'll just slow our aircraft down. And there you go. The little arrow there adjusted again because we slowed our aircraft down, so it's just adjusted. So we're not going as fast, so it's not quite as sharp a descent there, as you can see. You will see here we don't have our predicted altitude. Now, I can't get it back in the Cessna 1721 Grand Caravan. This sort of usually comes up purple here, our predicted altitude. So we've passed it now, but it would be 7,000 feet to begin with, and then it would show here. I know a couple of other people in the Discord have had the same issue. I don't know if that's a conflict with a recent update, but ideally we should have our predicted altitudes of what we're climbing down to here, but it's not showing. So let me know please in the comments if you're having that same issue, either on simply vertical navigation routes or ILS routes like this. I'm not getting that predicted altitude no longer. But don't worry, you can just follow your right G1000 screen. You can see where we're descending down to now. We're on this leg, so we're descending down to this altitude. Then this will go purple. So instead of it showing here, the purple's showing here. Or magenta. It's purple, isn't it? And then it will go through each of these legs till we get to our final fix. Speed's okay. This is live weather over London, so we should see some familiar sights coming up. And there you go. This will follow the route down. So the bottom of descent is 9 minutes. So I tell you what, it's just going to follow the whole of this route, rather than just waste your time letting you watch this tick down. It will just go through each one. It will stay in VPAF. Give this a try yourself. It will stay in vertical navigation mode, so this will stay green. It will keep descending all the way down because that's our bottom of descent, so we reach that altitude. Let me bring you back when we get closer to that. And there you go. I brought you back a bit earlier because I want to zoom in. You can see the legs that we're currently on are highlighted in purple here. So when we cross over to this next leg up to here, you'll see this part goes purple, as is denoted here. So there you go. So this part of the leg's gone purple, and then it will switch to this one. I might as well keep you here now. We've only got a couple of minutes. I've stayed in descent, so I stayed in our V path. It's a bit different from your typical vertical navigation. You usually get top of descent and bottom of descent along your vertical navigation course. Under ILS, it will simply stay in VPath mode all the way down, like I said, to 2500. So I'll keep you here for this part to show you that mechanic in operation. So we're coming up along this point here, then this point will go purple, and then we'll get to our very last leg, which is onto our final fix for ILS 27 left, and then we can activate approach mode. Which, remember, I'm in a Grand Caravan. It's up here. Approach mode is up here in the Grand Caravan. So I'll keep you here. Quite confusing. Typically, I'm used to these sorts of autopilot controls being on the left here, as a lot of you are in the Cessna 172. It's always interesting when I come back to the Grand Caravan and they're different. But they're pretty much similar knobs. You just got a slight change here and there. There you go, so now it's highlighting this part of the leg, as you can see, and we're getting towards our final fix. Just take a look outside. Oh, yeah, there's London. Isn't that beautiful, seeing it from this altitude? London City, let me just get my bearings here. Oh, it's yonder. It's over there. So there we go. We're passing through the other part of London now. Beautiful as always, and I do have the, let's see, UK 2000 scenery. Can be laggy sometimes, the UK 2000 scenery for London Heathrow. I'll link my review video of that beautiful airport. I just wish they would update it a little bit because it can be laggy at times. At other times it's fine. Here we go, we're going towards now our final fix on this ILS. And it stayed in VPath all the way down. There you go. And there's our glide slope indicator. What we can do now, by the time it reaches this is quite interesting. By the time it reaches 2,500 here, our glide slope indicator will be down into the center. So this is just a straight route across. What we can do is click this over now to CDI to localizer 1. We're in localizer 1 already. Did it do that automatically for me? Maybe it did. I don't remember changing that. Did that change automatically for me? It might have done. So that's brilliant. We're already in. This is highlighted green, so we're locked on to our ILS approach. Just waiting for that glide slope indicator. You can press approach anytime here. We're in approach mode. Glide slope is in white. Once this diamond, once we reach, look at it, 2,500. Perfect. Just as we reach that, the glide slope locked on green, we're heading down towards our runway, which is just ahead yonder. So let's get up to a more appropriate screen. We can hide the flight plan. We don't need that now. We're locked on to our glide slope. Just going to watch my speed and get myself ready for stage 1 flaps. I did alter my mixture a little bit, so I'm going to put that back up to full. Should have done that sooner, but it's okay. It's not really damaged anything. And just going to decrease my throttle a wee bit more there. I'm getting down to stage 1 flap speed. So we'll start descending in a moment. So I want to get to stage 1 flaps. You know what? I'm going to say that's fine there. We were close to it. And it's starting to... perfect timing. So I'll let it descend. Stage 1 flaps is fine for the moment. I'll go full flaps towards the... when we get a little bit closer to the runway. Full autopilot control. So full autopilot control from start to finish, using an ILS frequency and vertical navigation. Isn't that fantastic? And it should effectively work for any airport that has an ILS frequency. Your approaches, your vectors, your transitions rather, might be slightly different, obviously, to Heathrow. But you can give that a try. There we go. So we're getting towards the runway. Pop outside for a little bit. I'm not worried at all under autopilot control. The sim can look incredible, can't it? Again, how can this be improved in Flight Sim 2024? Time will tell, but I'm quite satisfied with what we have, to be honest. But there we go. It's always nice to have a new sim, isn't it? Oh, the autopilot went a bit screwy there. What's going on? Come on. Autopilot control. You should be locked onto the glide slope. Yeah, it's coming back now. The autopilot's doing that. I'm not quite sure why it went off a little bit. Never mind. Stage 2 flaps. Might as well get my speed down. 70 to 80 knots will do fine. There you go. Come on dear autopilot, do try and... I just wonder, do I have my landing rate widget on? You have to assign it to each aircraft. I believe it is. So we have our landing rate widget on as well. For the Grand Caravan, that'll be handy. Yeah, how can this be improved? There you go, that's the UK 2000 scenery. It's not lagging at the moment, but yeah, it does add a lot of immersion, I've got to say. I do love heading towards Heathrow Airport. I might as well put full flaps in. There you go, just bring back my speed a little bit more there, get more towards the 70 knots range. That's beautiful. It's just leveling out a little bit, so speed will drop, but then it will start to nose down again in a moment to bring us onto that runway. Saying we're a bit low, that's why, with the pappy lights there. Speed up a little bit, the diamond's gone just a little bit above me there, so I can speed up a little bit. It's not liking that. There you go, the diamond's coming down, so we got a more ideal approach. There we go. And any moment now, we can take it off autopilot. What's the aircraft doing? It's knocking it, maybe it's a bit of window out, that's fine. Over the threshold of the runway, autopilot off, bring my speed down gradually here. I've got control of the aircraft now. Famous last words. Get back towards the centre line. Now, truck, what on earth are you doing, my friend? That's typical Heathrow staff for you. Oh, not the best landing rate, but I'm not too worried about that. And then just come off to the left, raising my flaps. There you go, a little bit more. And that will be fine. We can park up just over here. That'll be perfect. Park and brake on. So there you go, chaps. That is, let's just get rid of that. That is my Back to Basics part 32. ILS approaches, give it a go. If you're not sure about this type of approach, follow this tutorial and this route first and then try it on different ILS approaches. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more, and I'll be seeing you soon.